You probably just found out that you're PCSing at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and I was in your shoes about 3 years ago. And here are 8 things that I wish I knew before PCSing here. All right, my name is Emilio, and I'm a realtor here in Tucson, Arizona. And I've also been in the service for nearly a decade now. And I've PCSed and TDY'd around the world with family, pets, the whole 9 yards. And I help people buy and sell their homes here in Tucson. And if you're military and you're PCSing here, reach out to me months in advance. There's a link down below in the description you can use to book a call with you and your significant other and a date and time that works best for you so we can get you the plan and get you into home ownership, maybe even before you get here. Now, number one, I wanted to talk about the gates here at Davis-Monthan. And Davis-Monthan primarily has 4 gates. Now, one is currently closed, and that's going to be the South Wilmot Gate, Gate 29B. Some people also refer to it as that, but that one is currently closed and under renovation. It's anticipated to be open the 2026, the end of this year, but just like with anything in the military, expect it to be extended. If you do drive by, you're going to be able to see that a lot of it is done, but there is still some barriers that need to come up. But I'm going to start off with this Swan Gate. So here you have the base and the boneyard here on this right side. But the Swan Gate runs on Swan Road of Tucson. So you have the Swan Road that runs all along from the base up to North Tucson. And if we zoom in on it here, this little area here is where all the Border Patrol works at. You're going to have a few buildings there as you come in. And this is also the gate where all the commercial vehicles come in through. So if you have any civilian trucks that are coming in to do work on base, they have to get inspected through here and then pass by through this gate. And as you come into this one, this gate is also only operated from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and not open on the weekends. And you're going to have everyone coming in, a lot of people from this east side and north side of base. So this one does get busy and is one of the main gates that the folks at DM use. So if you pull in through here, you're going to have access to a lot of the amenities that DM has to offer. You're going to run along pretty much center of base here. So you have your commissary, your BX, and a couple of gyms here. And it's going to run down all along this. So again, if you're on that east side or north side, it's going to be a convenient gate for you if you're within those time frames. Now moving on to the Craycroft gate. So this is the main gate here. You're going to have the visitor center, as you can see, and this one runs on Craycroft Road again. So this is another one where everyone from the north side of town and some from the east also come in. Now this one does get pretty busy also, especially if you have a later show time like 0800. I tend to see that time to be a little bit more busy as opposed to if you have to show up to work at 0700. But be careful with this one because sometimes there's been a couple of incidences. I'm sure you guys have heard on the news that a couple of months ago we had a gate runner and unfortunately there was a fatality. It was the driver. It was at like I believe 2 or 4 o'clock in the morning and the driver pulls in. I think it's still under investigation for what actually happened, but apparently the security forces members opened fire on him and it was closed. The gate was closed for a couple of weeks, I believe, and everyone from that normally used that gate had to swap over to the Swan or the North Wilmot gate that I'll talk about in a second. And again, it just created a little bit more backup and you had to account for that commute to those other sides. So be careful. You can also sign up for alerts and text messages. If this gate is closed and you're on your way to work, you'll get an alert. That way you're not, going to this gate and for whatever reason you pull up and it's closed and you're running late already. So it's a cool little feature that offers once you get here to DM. I think you just have to sign up with your ad-hoc, put your phone number and all that, and you'll get updates about the gates there. And we actually did just have someone else run the gate a couple of days ago. And fortunately, this wasn't a fatality. I don't know what the guy was doing, and it was like in the middle of the morning while everyone's trying to get to work, and the guy ran the gate. They had to close it down. It was closed for a few days, and they had to make some repairs. And again, it just overflowed the other 2 gates for a few days. So just keep that in mind. This one is 24/7. And like I said, it is a visitor center there as well. Moving on to the North Wilmot Gate. So you have Wilmot Road here. And the one that is out of commission is on this south side of base here. So here's the South Wilmot Gate entrance, and this one was super convenient for any folks that live out in Vail or Sahuarita or any southern part of Tucson here, because specifically for me, it took me about 15 minutes to get to work. I live out in Vail, and I used this gate, but now on days where I have to show up at 08, there's a little bit of traffic. It takes me about 40 minutes to get to work sometimes, and it can be kind of ridiculous, and I just really hope this gets finished soon because, again, if you're on that south side of town, it's really convenient. But if I go back up here on this road, this is going to be your North Wilmot Gate. Now, this one is also not 24/7. It's from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you're going to have everyone from the north and east side really coming in through this gate. And this one is located right next to the Naval Reserve Station here. And then you're also going to have the RV park. And here's the gate itself. You're going to pull in, and you're going to have the boneyard on your right side, and the med group, and also the golf course. And the number two thing I wish I knew before PCS and Davis-Monthan is going to be the food options. Now, there's a lot of options that you're going to have not only at the BX, but outside, scattered all over the base with the food trucks. So Tucson in and of itself is really known for its gastronomy. There we go. And the amount of restaurants that it has scattered throughout the entire city, and also food trucks. You'll find multiple food truck parks within Tucson, and a lot of those are regulars that come on base, and they even have some locations within the BX. So a couple of honorable mentions here are just going to be 23 Spices. This is one that you'll either see right outside the BX or around the base, like I said. And this one is like a Dr. Pepper infused barbecue, so pretty interesting concept here. I haven't had this one, so don't quote me on it, but it looks pretty good. And there's also a Filipino spot. So you have Johnny's here, and you'll see their food truck on base. And also, I believe they still have a location within the BX. So awesome little Filipino option there. And then we do have Solid Grind. So this is a heavy hitter on base. And this is a Hawaiian barbecue one. They'll usually serve like pulled pork. I think they do shrimp and chicken as well. So heavy hitter here. A lot of people love this food truck, and they usually set up really quickly. Now another one is, I haven't seen this one too much, but it's like a Latin Caribbean cuisine one. And again, you'll normally see them scattered. There's a schedule that your squadron will usually push out, and they'll show you where they're going to be at throughout the base within the month. And they also have a Ukrainian food truck. So this one's pretty good. I've tried it myself. Unique little food truck here, I think. Ukrainian food. And there it is. You have like dumplings and things like that. But of course, it being Tucson and right next, near Mexico, I think we have currently 3 Mexican food trucks that are on base. So you're gonna have a lot of options there. There are a couple other ones that I prefer over the other, but you be the judge of that when you get here and try those out. As far as your BX goes, you also do have like your run-of-the-mill options. You're gonna have Popeyes. You do have a Starbucks. You're gonna have Charlie's, and there's also, which is like another Mexican little restaurant. It's almost like a Chipotle. So pretty good options there, in my opinion. And the next thing I knew before PCS and Davis-Monthan are the facilities, primarily the 2 fitness centers and the multiple clinics that DM has. And I'll explain that in a little bit. So the first one is going to be the Banco Fitness Center. So this one is right off the Swan Gate that I was talking about earlier. So if you come into the Swan, you come down south a little bit, and then you're actually going to have both facilities right here. You're going to have one on your right-hand side and then on the left. And if I give you a satellite view real quick, you're going to see that this one has the outdoor track. Now, it's currently being renovated, so not going to be able to use that right now, but here is the Banco. And then right next to it, you're also going to have the Human Performance Center. So this is going to offer your body composition services and things like that. You just have to call them, book an appointment, and pretty cool services that they offer here. Now, this Banco Fitness Center, this one is going to offer a lot of services for sports. So it has a basketball court in there. You can also set it up for volleyball, and it has the upstairs track there. Now, it's also sectioned off for special forces. So it being a rescue and attack base, you're going to have a lot of PJs on base. Now, and it was originally open, but they've closed it off. You have to punch in a code to the keypad in there, and only used for PJs and special forces. And as you can see here, the upstairs also offers a cardio section, an indoor pool also. So you can also you can reserve it if you want to teach like a class or something, because they do also teach classes in there for that. But they have the pool available during normal business hours. And if I show you here also, this is what it looks like from the outside. But yeah, they also offer a lot of classes. So if you want to do like a high intensity workout class, or they call them mobility classes, and this one does have a sauna for both male and female, but they are pretty much never open in my experience. And here you can see all the classes that they offer. They also have personal trainers. And if we move on to the Hefner, this one again is going to be right next door. Now this one is a little bit more CrossFit focused. You do have a large CrossFit section there in the, but basically this big room is all dedicated to CrossFit workout stuff. and you have other little separate rooms within the building. And what's neat about this one, it also offers the like child friendly little sections. So if you don't have anyone to watch over your kiddos, you can put them in the little playpen there or in that room, and then you can also get a workout in as you can see them. But this one also has the upstairs cardio room and the saunas. And these are also, by the way, you can also have 24/7 access. You just have to go up to the counter, register your card during normal business hours, and then you'll have 24 access with that. And moving on to the clinics. So this first one is going to be one of or the annex for the mental health area. So here's Craycroft Road. That's the main road I was telling you guys about earlier. And if you come down south, as you can see the visitor center up there, you come all the way down here, and it's going to be right across the street from the post office. And this is a building dedicated only to mental health. So if you and they also offer classes. So if you're going to like a sleep class, an anger management class, things like that, those are going to be in here. And I'm assuming they do this just to give you a little bit more privacy as far as it being geographically in a different location compared to the regular clinic. So I know it's labeled as this right here, but that's the mental health section. Now, if we move over to this clinic here. Oh, by the way, I've taken some of those classes and they're pretty awesome. You kind of sit down and then you get brief, and they also keep track of you and like your progress if that's something that you like really want to dive into. For example, I took the sleep one and they have you keep track of it and kind of talk about your progress and all that, see if it's improved or not. And then you can also get some further help if you think it's not helping. But here is the main clinic. So this is the North Wilmot gate, that gate next to the boneyard that I was talking about. Then if you come down south here, it's going to be on your right hand side. Now this one is going to have two major facilities here, so or buildings, I should say. So you're going to have this one right here and the one up north. Now DM also offers what's called the CMR day. Now, unlike a traditional base, you have your medical appointments scattered throughout the year, like your audiogram, your dental, and things like that. But at DM, you have the CMR day. Now, normally you come to the clinic and you'll have a little brief, and then they give you a checklist with all your appointments booked for that day. That way you can knock them out all on the same day, and you'll usually pretty done pretty quickly, around roughly before noon. Honestly, I've done that, and that way you don't have to be coming back, year round unless it's something else. So I thought that was pretty convenient. And my wife and I have also had a great experience with the peds doctor. So we've seen multiple of them on base here, and they've been just super awesome. And I've also never heard of you having issues with getting referrals off base. I haven't personally got a referral, but from everything that I hear, the doctors on base normally don't have any issues with referring you out if you do request one and would like a specialist for something specific. And they also have a pretty awesome Japanese little restaurant in here, so I thought that's pretty neat. Now, the next thing I wish I knew before PCS in here were the roads and the cars. So let me dive deep into that. Now, Tucson, there's really only one major highway that runs along north to south of the town, and it could be pretty frustrating, especially if you're trying to go really west to east or just any part of town that's outside of those highways. So here you can see this is the I-10 and it runs down south here, and then it splits off also to the 19. So this is the road that goes down all the way to Sahuarita. This is another popular neighborhood that people live in. A lot of military and like police officers out there also. But that's pretty much it. And as you can see here, there are no highways that go to this northern part here and to this east side of town. And also the amount of accidents that I see here, you got to be careful here because Tucson is pretty crazy. We have a high elderly population and people are just kind of crazy in general. I follow a couple of Facebook pages, you can find them online, and they'll show you, if there's been any accidents or things like that that you got to keep an eye out, especially if you're on your way home. So just be careful with that. And there's also just a lot of stretch between some parts of town. So you can see here, and this just it's like prime real estate for people to be hauling ass here and just speeding past you. And another thing here in Tucson, we have what's called MVD. So it's not DMV. And if you want to register your car and pay minimal registration fees, don't change your state residency. Keep it from whatever state you're from, except Tucson, and just bring normally your LES and your orders to the MVD, And once you go to register your car, you're going to be able to pay less fees than you normally would if you're a resident of Tucson in Arizona. But another caveat with that, Arizona does not charge state income tax for active duty military. So, you kind of have to weigh your options there, your pros and cons. I personally became a resident of Arizona just because my wife and I are going to be staying here. And I was paying California state taxes, which was ridiculous. And I'm not enjoying any of the money that I'm paying to that state. So I just changed it to here. But yeah, my registration for vehicle taxes went a little bit up, but I mean, I have a Honda Civic, so it wasn't anything crazy. And I also want to keep in mind, it's obviously Tucson. It's hot as frick out here, especially in the summer. So if you have a preference between choosing a car that's black exterior, black interior, or another car that's white and you really don't care about the color, I'd recommend going with the white one because if you really don't have a garage, if you're just out in town stuck in traffic, you're going to be baking. And you can definitely tell the difference between those two colors. And especially if you don't have your windows tinted. And it's also common for vehicles to have their windshield tinted. So I did that to mine. It's technically not legal between past a certain length below your windshield, but it's common. You see almost everyone has it. And I've never been pulled over. I think I would assume a lot of policemen and women understand that it's just super hot here. And especially if you don't have a garage or a carport, it's just ridiculous to drive without one if you're just in a fish tank with no tinted windows. And another common complaint that I also hear about is the selection of cars that are in Tucson. Generally, in my opinion, in my experience, everything that I hear also, Tucson is a little bit limited as far as cars and selection, everything from brand new vehicles to like Facebook Marketplace and used cars. And I see a lot of folks go up to Tucson or the surrounding, or sorry, go up to Phoenix or the surrounding area there to buy their car. And I've actually considered doing that because you do find a little bit more of a better deal up in Phoenix here. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive, and I'll be on Facebook Marketplace. And in my experience, you do see the same condition for a little bit less of a price here in Phoenix. And I think that's just because there's a lot more supply here because Phoenix is pretty huge. So if you do get a chance to visit here, it's just vast, especially the little cities surrounding Phoenix. You're going to have a lot more options as far as vehicles go. So I've heard of plenty of people that go up there, buy their car, kind of make a weekend of it, and then come back down to Tucson. And the last thing I wish I knew before PCS into Davis-Monthan, and this one might surprise you, are the amount of things that there is to do in Tucson. Now, I'm originally from a large city, Los Angeles, and there was just so much to do as when it comes to food, uh, nature or things to do indoors. And coming to Tucson, it's not definitely not the same, not at the same level, but it's comparable, I would say. And especially being stationed at some other places like Dias, where in my opinion there is not much to do. Um, Tucson actually surprised me, and I think there's a little bit for everyone. And also, if you don't think there's anything to do, then I might question your priorities and your values. But if you're outdoorsy, this is definitely an awesome scene to be in. You have national parks. You have Mount Lemon, which there's a national park on the east and west side of town, and those offer a lot of hiking trails, a lot of scenery. We have a lot of unique vegetation out here. So there's a lot of saguaro cactus. Those are nationally preserved, and it's a federal crime to also mess with those if you do get caught. But yeah, Mount Lemon also has a ski resort. So a lot of people go up there during the winter and even during the summer just to escape the heat down here in Tucson. It's such a drastic change in elevation that there's entire forest up there, and you can definitely see the landscape change as you start driving up to Mount Lemon. But there's also a little town there that you can make a day out of it. Really, you can go hiking up there. Again, there's a ski resort, and there's a few restaurants and shops, and even a couple of places to stay overnight there if you want to. It does get a little bit busy over the winter. You're even required to have like some what do they call it? I think snow chains on your vehicles, depending on the conditions up there. And be careful also because there's only one road that really leads up to it, and there are occasional accidents. But down south of Tucson, there's also a lot of dirt biking and off-roading trails if that's your thing. There's Reddington Pass, which is also up in the mountains, and if you have off-road vehicles or dirt bikes and things like that, you can take uh, that road. But there's also numerous trails scattered throughout the city. And Tucson is also known for its cycling scene. There's what's called a 100-mile loop, all scattered throughout Tucson. It's actually more than 100 miles, but it's referred to that, and it's paved pathways specifically for cyclists, and it runs all along from Sahuarita all the way up to Marana. And another thing that my wife and I like to do is go out thrift stores. There's a lot of thrift stores scattered within downtown and then also throughout the city. So if that's something that you like to do, just go out and kind of find little treasures, then there's definitely a scene for you in Tucson. Now, there are plenty of restaurants, Mexican restaurants and Italian spots that are in Tucson. Now, my personal opinion, stay within South Tucson if you're trying to go Mexican. And anything outside that, in my opinion, is a little bit questionable, but you still can find some gems. And just the other types of foods there are also. So if you're not a big fan of Mexican, maybe you're more of a Chinese or ramen and things like that, then there are lots of spots out there also. The only thing I will knock Tucson for is the scenes for some particular hobbies. Now, I have a buddy that does like resell for like trading cards and packaged items, like just like figures and like anime based things like that that they resell. The scene for that is pretty limited here, and I've seen that consistently across other little markets also. And Phoenix is just going to be your place for that if you're really trying to get into some of those hobbies. And like I said, if you get here and you do your research, depending on the specific type of hobby it is, you might have a better luck finding a better scene within Phoenix. And there's also a fair amount of golf courses scattered throughout Tucson. So if we look into here, there's some all the way out to Rancho Del Lago, and that's really if you're going to live out in Vail. But I've been to these other ones here in town, and they're pretty good too. Obviously, if it's in the middle of summer, it might not be a good time unless you're going like really early. It does get a little bit packed depending on which one you go. It can get pretty busy, and that's why I recommend going a little bit early. So if you're into golf, there's that. A lot of them, and then there's also some casinos here. So if that's also your mojo, you might want to check those out here. There aren't too many or anything, crazy like, Vegas or anything like that. But nonetheless, they are there. Normally, they're going to be on this west side. So Casino del Sol and of the Sun here are some of the most popular ones. And then you do have Diamond down in Sahuarita. So those are some pretty nice ones. I think Del Sol also has a golf course in there, and it's a little bit farther out though on the west side of town. But if you're in that area, it's pretty convenient if you're out there. And again, this is kind of what I mean when it comes to Tucson, that does have a selection of things to do, but some of the markets might be a little bit limited. If you're in a bigger city like Phoenix, we might have, a lot more casinos and golf courses. Now, I know I highlighted a lot of good things about Tucson, but if you want to hear the scary truths of this city, there's going to be a link here. Click that one and watch it. I made an entire video about the rough edges of Tucson. And if you're PCSing here and looking to buy, reach out to me. There's a link down below in the description. Book a time and date that works best for you and any other party that's going to be there, whether it's your spouse or a family member that's going to buy the home with you. I can help you months in advance before you even get here. I was in your shoes. I PCS from Japan, bought a home before I even came here. So let me help you with your next home purchase and book that call.